as well is, like, when I saw this move, like, the actual two players they've signed, like I said, the Rainwaker one, I already had a theory on that. I was already like, I know Daps actually has a history of scouting people. And since he's Bulgarian, I imagine he probably hit up his boy Cirque and asked around the scene and did his due diligence. Like, I've heard he doesn't just, like, you know, fucking pick these people out of nowhere. He goes and figures out the angle. Because he's trying to do that thing where it's like, I recruit you specifically for the thing you're going to do for our team. I'm not just like trying to pick the best player possible and then figure it out after the fact. The Patsy one, I think, is a slam dunk. Like, anyone who saw him play in Spirit just looked like a really good player, mate. Like, straight from as soon as he came in, everyone remembers at PGL Antwerp. He's just a good player, mate. Just a skilled rifler, really nice aim. He's fitting into this team great so far. The big thing for me was, if you tell me this, right? Imagine telling me these two details before, like, the off-season. Imagine go like, right, 2 details, Thorin. So, 1, we're going to give up being an NA team. Don't worry about that. We don't care about being an NA team. And 2, good news, we're signing players from CIS region. I'd be like, oh, perfect. I love this move. Right, who are we going with first? Dexter. Not Dexter? Okay, wonderful. You're going for wonderful, aren't you? No? Oh, Zorti believer. There's a Zorti believer in the house. And then, no, here's the thing, Thorin. You know how we say we don't need to have, like, NA anymore? Yeah, we're keeping oSee. It's like, do you owe him money or something? Like, what? Like, here's the thing, like this. Now, people tell me this, which sort of makes sense if you look at the Nitro move, the Legion. They say, technically, if you get rid of oSee, then you'd lose even like an RMR spot or something like that, because I think you need the 3 out of the 5 to even get like an EU one, if that's even a thing. That could be something. Also, for whatever reason, to be fair, I've never seen Liquid complain about oSee. I've never even heard behind the scenes they do. So they just seem committed to that project. I'm just not a big fan because, as everyone knows, I think like Tier 1 AWPer is the biggest gap between like levels at that situation, which is why if you put him in a big semi-final, he's going to lose to Zimu and Simple and all those guys. It's just the way it is. So I don't have, the funny thing is, I don't have a problem with any of the players they signed. It's what they did with the players they kept that does my head in. Like the Yakindar one as well. I'm just a bit sus on, because essentially, if people don't know the whole like second caller syndrome where they have to become IGL, it's very logical. It's not, they're not idiots. Here's what they do. Because they can choose not to call. Whether it's the same concept as the secondary AWPer becoming the primary AWPer. You don't need secondary AWP when you're feeling it, don't you? When it's like the right site for it, it's the team that's not going to punish you. Maybe their AWPer isn't good. You're hitting your shots, so that's when you pick up the AWP. You get, like, think of even Bit used to do this in Navi. You just get like 3k on the CT side. Like, yeah, you know what? I can AWP. It's like, no, mate, that isn't AWPing. AWPing is when your team lost the pistol, didn't get any of the eco rounds, then finally you get money and you have to buy an AWP, go to your spot. If you lose it then, shit out of luck now, mate. You're playing the rest of the half poor. You're looking like a bomb because you're not even buying proper rifles, you know, like, and you better hit all those shots. You better hit every single crossing shot onto a guy. You better know when to rotate off. Like, that's why secondary AWPing and AWPing is a different game. One of them, you're a tourist. The other one, you live there. It's the same thing with being an IGL. When you're the secondary IGL guy, what really happens, think about your Kindart's the most obvious example. You're playing on a different part of the map as sort of like an entry, working your angles, right? And then when you get a good lineup or you see someone rotate, you see a small, you make a great call, like, hey, if we come now, like, we can hit a time. That's when you can choose when to make the call. IGL is when, again, you wake up and you're calling every round, bro. You're calling a round after nothing worked. You're calling a round after you try what you think's the right read and they smash your head in when you go on the site, or you just lose every 1v1 and your team's looking at you like, right, what now? And you're like, yeah, what now? Oh, wait, it's me. I have to actually come up with this call. So the problem I have is I do think your Kindar does have like a little bit in the sort of tank in that sense, because the angle everyone overplayed it is they make it sound like he's the one who figured this all out. As far as I've heard behind the scenes, and I talked to him before he was rude to me, as far as I know, he learned under James as well. When he joined that team, he just came with the raw aggression. And then what happened is, it's not just that James a bozo who plays passive and Yakindar's a genius who plays aggressive. If anything, they like sort of married the two styles. And all you have to see is, have you seen since Yakindar left, boys? Like, James still pretty fucking good at IGLing. He seems like he's got a very good sense of like late round, what to do, how to adapt. So yeah, he's taken some of that and I can see that working. But obviously, like the angle, as you say, is it was inevitable your individual game can't be maintained. You're not going to run in against Navi when you're in IGL and pop 15 heads in a row with an AK. Like, so if Patsy can do it, okay, maybe that can work. Because my meme, I said on Twitter, it's fire though, isn't it? It's like everyone was like, oh, Yakindar's the IGL. And then I just noticed in that series against FaZe, he bottom fragged and had less frags than Carrigan. I was like, well, he's got the no fragging part nailed. He's got that fucking, now all you have to do is actually be a genius like Carrigan and call the 29th round mate. You know, the hard part. Because people, that's the other thing about the secondary callers, by the way. They all secretly believe they're the chosen one, who their level won't drop off.
Yeah.
but they'll also be the IGL. It's like, well, fuck it, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Like, I'm sure Caldera and Shocks, and they all thought that, you idiot. Like, everyone hoped it would be the case. It just hasn't ever been, has it? Like, has anyone... The joke is, there's only 2 players I know whose level never dropped off of the IGL. That was Nico and FaZe, and Blame F in Complexity. And spoiler, I don't think they were doing, like, really hard IGLing. I imagine their shit was just like, you go there, like, yeah, oh, look at that, I'm getting 3K. It's like, yeah, I've always thought, like, how much were you IGLing? And spoiler, where are all the trophies? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing, guys. So it's not hate, but I think you can pretty swear. These early results are nice after the Blake, but I've got to see a lot before I really buy into this part of the project. The rest of the players look good, though. I actually like the lineup.
You know, even from that angle where you're saying, you know, he learned a lot under James, I'm pretty sure there's like a content piece he did with Blast or something a long time ago where he was saying that like when he actually got recruited by Dastan, like part of the reason was that they just needed like a brainless guy to do a thing for them, basically. And, you know,
Okay.
that was probably like one of those humbling experiences. Like, wait, you think I'm brainless? Wait,
That's fire, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I
didn't know Dastan was that based that as a coach. Yeah, you're coming, you're brainless, you all just run in when I tell you, like, all right. Yeah,
you just need a soldier.
Go, brainless, go. I mean, Yukindar. Go.
The thing is, like, when you watch them play before when they had Yukindar, like he would just be allowed to just do his own thing. Yeah. Basically, there's you run in by yourself. If you kill somebody, cool. If you don't, we'll figure it out.
The joke was they were always 30 seconds in, either 5v4 up or 4v5 down. That was just how they used to play in VP back in the day. It really was.
Yeah. Imagine if, also Liquid, like that's not a reference you put on your CV, is
no,
it?
Exactly.
You know, that quote being there is quite funny. I will also add, though, that the other thing that maybe does scare me about this team, I think you bringing this up actually made me realize this, Thorin. Like, if you had Dexter on this team, I know that Dexter is the sort of AWPer who's going to, like, pick his own spots and come up with ideas for the team. I look at this squad, I don't know who's doing that. Like, Naf, his whole thing is that he doesn't do that on purpose.
Yes.
He's literally said, I try not to do that so that I can just play my game. oSee doesn't seem like that sort of AWPer. Maybe he gets more freedom now, I don't know. Rainwaker, this guy's just transitioning to tier 1 and is probably going to have to change his roles. He's not going to do it. Maybe Patsy, I guess. I don't really know much, but he's sort of similar to Yukindar in that he seems like just an entry guy with crazy aims. So, yeah, I also kind of don't know where the other ideas come from. I guess at least you have Daps. That's the one obvious positive. But in terms of the players on the server, it doesn't seem like he's going to get much help, which is not ideal.
And also, the actual worst thing, in my opinion, about the Blast groups is they're always... this is how you know ESL does run the schedule, guys, because magically they're like, it's all right, Blast, you can have this part here. It's like, oh, brilliant, we're the first tournament after the play break. It's like, yeah, that's actually the shittest window because it's where all the like bullshit upsets are. And like the joke is like... First of all, the finals are months from now, and then like no one ever takes these seriously. Like, put it this way, it's why the meme is that result from EG. Their only best of 3 LAN win was against Heroic, best team in the world. But the first game after the play break, like the one where everyone's just like, how do you do this again? Like, and then you've just prepped for that one opponent. Like, it's why the upsets, Blast group stage always has upsets. I don't think I've ever seen one where it was like favourite wins every game. It just never happens ever. So, as much as like, look, the first run, to me, I just look at Liquid and I'm like, wow, like the players are fitting in, like the new recruits are good. That's the main angle. I'm not really like overreacting. Like, for example, if we want to transition a bit, let's talk about the new Navi, because this is where people have got to stop whiling. Bro, just because they lost to Heroic, people are like, it's over. It's like, that's like the fucking, like, look, even though Vitality's on paper the number 1 team in the world, if there's one team I wouldn't want to play in my second official game as a brand new team with a mixture of 5 different nationalities and like all speaking second language English with a guy who's like, God, beer, with like the fucking Finnish accent, it wouldn't be Heroic, would it? Heroic, all Danish, probably the best trade frag team, the best fucking like play off each other, mid rounds from hell on T side, all the best utility, set pieces to set up the AWP. Like, mate, this is actually like the doctor's order to get wrecked. It's like the nightmare team to play out the gate. Like, I actually think the new Navi looks all right, mate. I think they look, there's so many variables. I'm not tracking it to be good in 1 month. I'm expecting it to gradually power up, you know.
I think what the weird thing was that even Simple was kind of tweeting out that he was, not satisfied with that loss to Heroic, which is, probably the most understandable team to have lost to, considering there were no changes in that team. Every positive we had to say about them before the player break is still applicable now. So it's not like there was some drastic shift and they had to come. I think they only had like 4 days practice as well, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. So from that angle, I actually do like this Navi team. I do think the pickups that they got, Jail and Imma, were probably just I mean, they're overrated. You know, in the same way. That,
everyone has to be because of the major. Yeah, of course.
100%. Yeah,
Yes.
you know, you're picking them based on the stock from the major, and you know, they wanted to go international. These guys were probably cheaper than a lot of other alternatives or other players. Maybe even retention of players like Perfecto and Electronic. So you know, I like the idea. I've never really been the massive proponent of Alexi B calling.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of excuses made as to why he hasn't been able to make these rosters work in the past when other in-game leaders have done more with less.
All right. Well, all I'm going to say is, you know, maybe just keep that energy for later in the episode. You know, if we talk about other IGLs, you know, just keep that energy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So it's all good. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.